Cari fratelli e sorelle.
Dear brothers and sisters, thank you for being with us.
Dinanzi a noi c'è il mare, fonte di vita.
Before us, we have the sea,
Questo luogo evoca la
a source of
tragedia
life.
dei naufragi.
But this place reminds us of the tragedy of those who perish at
Siamo
sea
venuti
and reminds us of
in
death.
memoria di coloro che non ce l'hanno fatta.
We are here today in memory
Che non sono
of the
stati
people who
salvati.
did not survive, people who were not saved.
Non abituamoci a considerare i naufragi come
We should
fatti di
not get
cronaca
used to
e i
seeing
morti in mare
people who perish at sea as just more news.
sono
We should
nomi
not
e
see people who
cognomi.
perish at sea as
Sono
figures.
volti e
No, they
storie.
are names,
Sono vite
first names and
spezzate
surnames. They have their
e
own
sogni
stories.
infranti.
These are lives that are broken,
Penso
and these are
a tanti
dreams
fratelli
that
e
never became
sorelle
true.
annegati nella paura,
My thoughts go to the numerous brothers and sisters
che
who died
portavano nel cuore.
in fearful circumstances with hope in their heart.
Davanti a un simile dramma non servono parole, ma
When faced with such tragic events, words are not enough.
però
We need
serve
actions.
umanità. Serve silenzio,
But before
pianto,
anything else,
compassione e
we need
preghiera.
humanity, silence,
Invito ora a
prayer,
un momento
compassion,
di silenzio
and tears.
in memoria di
I would like
questi
to invite you now to a
nostri
moment of
fratelli e
silence
sorelle.
in memory of our
Lasciamoci
brothers
toccare
and sisters.
dalle loro tragedie.
Let us allow our hearts to be touched by their tragedy.
Troppe persone in fuga dai conflitti, povertà e calamità
Too many
ambientali
people fleeing conflict, environmental disasters, or poverty find in the Mediterranean their final resting place in their quest for a better future. This is how this beautiful sea has become a vast cemetery where so many brothers and sisters have their right even to a tomb taken from them. What is buried here is life itself.
Il protagonista alla fine del travagliato viaggio che lo porta dalla Repubblica di Guinea all'Europa.
At the end of a long trip, a gentleman from Guinea
Da una parte la vita,
told me that when you are on the ocean, you're at a crossroads between life and death. And there's no other way out than one of those two ways.
Da una parte la fraternità,
Dear friends, we are also faced with a crossroads.
la comunità umana,
On the one hand, we have
indifferenza,
fraternity, brotherhood,
sanguina,
the goodness of the community, and in the other direction, indifference. Indifference that brings death to the Mediterranean. Civilization is at a crossroads. Brotherhood, fraternity, civilization, or a culture of indifference, where everyone
non possiamo
just does as they can.
rassegnarci a vedere esseri umani trattati come merce di scambio,
We cannot stand back and see human beings treated as merchandise, imprisoned and tortured in terrible circumstances.
via,
We know this, and very often, when we send them back home, we're sending them back home to being tortured and imprisoned again.
dei naufragi dovuti a traffici odiosi
We can no longer stand by and observe the sinkings in the Mediterranean, which are due to indifference,
le persone
a fanatical indifference, in fact.
quando vengono
The people who are risking their lives, who are risking
un dovere di umanità.
sinking in the Mediterranean must be saved. This is a duty of humanity. This is a duty for civilization. The heavens will bless us if we are able to look after the weakest amongst us, if we're able to overcome fear and disinterest, which sends people to their death with a velvet glove. We are called upon to be examples. Indeed, God blessed Abraham. He was called upon to leave his home. He left without knowing where he would go. He was a pilgrim, welcomed in a foreign land. He would welcome travelers who passed his tent, although he was himself far from home. And whilst being far from home, he was a home for all, and in recompense for his hospitality, he was given a descendant. So we have welcoming, love, of course, love for the foreigner in the name of God, and this is vital. This is vital if, as our father Abraham, we dream of a future. Let us not forget what the Bible says. The orphan, the widow, and the foreigner. This is precisely what God calls on us to save and preserve. We must be able to welcome people in brotherhood. Very often, relations between religious groups are not easy. Often, there is a seed of extremism, of fundamentalism, which undermines the life of religious communities. But on these topics, I would like to remind you what a godly man once wrote, a man who lived not far from here. No one should keep in their heart hatred for another, but we should hold love, because if we hate a single man, you cannot be heard by God. God does not hear the prayers of those who have hatred in their heart. Today, Marseille is a shining example of many religions living together, many religions living side by side. I would like to thank all of you who have taken the path of meeting, of encountering human life, of welcoming. Marseille is a model for integration. Here we have many people, many organizations working to support migrants. There's even a religious organization working for peaceful coexistence. Judy Sack, pioneers of dialogue and togetherness, come from this area, and we recently celebrated the 60th anniversary of her death. You are the Marseille of the future. Continue, do not lose hope, because this city must be for France, for Europe, and for the world a true mosaic of hope. Finally, I would like to come back to the words that were spoken during a recent Mediterranean meeting. This is in the house of Al-Mamoum, where Jews, Christians, and Muslims met to read the Greeks. Today, we are faithful, secular people, and we need to rebuild that house, continue to fight together to destroy idols, to build bridges, and to create a new humanism. We must look into the details of our time and love it all the more when it appears difficult to love. I believe that this is the seed that was sown during these days. These are days that are relevant to our shared destiny. We must no longer be fearful of problems. We must no longer be fearful of the problems that the Mediterranean brings. For the European Union and for all of us, this is an issue of survival. Dear brothers and sisters, let us face our issues together. Let us not sink hope. Together, let us design the mosaic of peace. I'm delighted to see so many of you here today who take to the sea to save migrants. You often have to face people who are trying to stop you doing this. You're not allowed. These are hateful actions, bearing hate against our brothers and sisters under the guise of balance. Thank you for everything that you're doing.